Clerk will ring the bell. House will come to order. For what purpose does Representative Dickey rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to request HB 605 move from education to higher education. Both committee chairman are in favor.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 605 by Representative Dickey, the 145th, to be entitled an Act to amend Part 4 of Article 7, Chapter 3, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to realizing educational achievement can happen scholarship.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 605 be withdrawn from the Education Committee and recommitted to higher education, is there any objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 318. House Bill 318.
House Bill 318 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, to be entitled an Act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to elementary and secondary education, so as to provide for the reestablishment of the Office of Charter School Compliance under the State Charter Schools Commission. This bill I refer to the Committee on Education. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Hilton to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and distinguished colleagues. Today I'm honored to present to you House Bill 318. House Bill 318 eliminates a funding and service redundancy in state government by shifting all charter school oversight responsibilities to one single agency, specifically the State Charter School Commission, which is the state agency laser focused on charter school authorization, support, and oversight. The shift will ensure that our local boards received enhanced support required to consistently perform above the State School Board Education Authorizer standards. The State Charter School Commission will promote transparent and timely communications with the State Board so that appropriate interventions, mediation, and other strategies can be employed if and when issues arise. There's no new responsibilities or funding associated with this legislation. This is a simple reorganization that results in a more responsive state government to our local authorizers. There's also no change in the current authorization process between the State Board, charter schools, and local authorizers. Finally, House Bill 318 provides financial transparency by requiring local school district authorizers and the state authorizer to itemize how they spend the administrative withhold fees they receive from charter schools. With that, I will yield for questions.
Chair recognizes Representative McDonald for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat everything you just said? Because I think the gentleman for the 18th probably didn't understand a thing. You said it so quickly.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and settle in. Here we go. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for I'll come over and deliver it to you. I'll yield for any other questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce for a question.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Just trying to get clarification. Is this going to take the ability for the local school boards to determine if there's going to be a charter school in their area or not?
No, that authority will continue to remain the same as it is today.
Okay, will the gentleman yield for another question?
Yes, sir.
Will there be any change in how funding goes? You know, right now, the local school systems, if they charter a school, they pretty much fund the school with funds from them. Is that going to change?
No, sir. No change in how they're funded.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Glaze for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it correct that this bill is just an opportunity for oversight that directly relates to charter schools being governed by those who are in that space?
Yes, correct. As I mentioned in my comments, we have an agency this is all they do 100% of the day, and so we are now aligning state government so that you've got a state government that's more responsive to our locals and their needs.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So the efficiency of this new charter school compliance agency is better for us overall, so that the public schools DOE is not hampered down having to do both. Is that correct, sir?
You're absolutely correct.
Thank
yes.
you.
Chair recognizes Representative Olaleye for a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Quick question, Representative. Does this bill in any way weaken local rule by shifting current responsibilities or discretion held at the local level to this newly formed state office?
No, it essentially shifts FTEs from DOE over to State Charter School Commission to make them more responsive to our local authorizers. So it no way impacts the locals.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Hughley for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
To my seatmate, I will always yield.
Thank you. Can you talk about this 3% that if they're not using administratively, it goes back to the charter school, and how much do you think charter schools will realize as a result of the change?
It's a great question. So you'll notice in the bill, currently in statute, what happens is charter schools pay a 3% administrative fee to the locals. The locals, best example I'll give you, imagine if you're in your paycheck, someone took 3% and you had no detail on what that was spent on. What it's currently supposed to be spent on is administrative services supporting the local charter school. This bill provides, when that 3% is taken out, to then have the locals provide detail on what exactly that 3% was spent on. Any unspent portion will be returned to the charter school.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams from the 37th for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So the city of Marietta, our whole school system is a charter school system. So I've heard you answer questions, but could you walk me through how this is going to change the operation and funding of city of Marietta schools?
So I don't believe the bill addresses charter school systems. This is strictly charter schools. And again, no change in operations or funding. It provides a resource that was formerly housed in DOE, now housed up in the State Charter School Commission to provide further support for your local charter schools.
Follow-up question?
State your question.
Do you have the endorsement of the state school superintendent for this bill?
We have worked with DOE and a number of state agencies and local school boards on this bill.
So, does the does the state superintendent endorse this bill?
They have not formulated or given us an opinion one way or the other.
Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Clark of the 108th for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit more about what's happening in lines 197 through 203, specifically when it comes to requiring that the charter schools be funded, but also allowing those charter schools to exceed their enrollment caps?
Yeah, so currently, what takes place at a charter school is that they have a charter school contract, which stipulates how many students they're able to service. This bill allows for a very small overage. If they are over, they do not receive any additional funding for that overage. And it's a very small percent. We're talking about, on average, probably 3 to 5 students. So a typical school estimate, we believe, will have X number. Obviously, with any business of what we do, we try to get exact, but you're always going to be off by maybe 1 or 2 students, and that's what this bill provides for.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
So you say it doesn't require, but it says that the local board shall provide the funding and that they shall not be deemed to have exceeded the enrollment cap. So wouldn't that mean they shall fund the extra?
No, there's no additional funding for the extra kids that they go over. All those terms are stipulated in their charter school contract.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Campbell for a question to your left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
A bit of a follow-up question, but I'm curious to know, did you, in the work and organizing of this, meet and confer with the Georgia School Board Association, and do they support this bill?
Yes, met with them. Again, all those organizations, I don't want to speak out of turn. Neither one of them have come out negatively or in favor, but all of them had input into the language of this bill.
Chair recognizes Representative Carter for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am. There she is.
Thank you. On line 210 to 214, and this was one of the issues that the DOE brought up, that in creating the state school commission, the personnel for that commission would now be assigned under the school board, the state school board versus the DOE. Can you help us understand how that's going to functionally work, and what really is changing? Because if you're creating the Office of Flexibility, you're creating this commission, it's supposed to help the charter schools for the locals, but there is a parameter in which that is something different. There's something other than just personnel that changed out of this first. Why isn't it under the school superintendent versus the DOE, and what really is happening in this bill, and why is there a change?
Great question. So if I could help you all visualize kind of an org chart right here. So right over here, you have the DOE, which then reports up through the State Board of Education. We are taking administrative staff from DOE, shifting them over to the State Charter School Commission, which is administratively attached to the State Board of Education. So if you all can kind of visualize 2 boxes, 2 lines up to State Board of Education, shifting administrative staff from one to the other to better be responsive to our local governments.
And there are no more questions.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 145, the nays were 17. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 336. House Bill 336.
House Bill 336 by Representative Cox, the 28th, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 8.2.23 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to amendment and revision of codes generally, so as to prohibit the Georgia State Minimum Standard Codes from prohibiting the use of certain refrigerants. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Cox to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill's basically this way. If you enjoy air conditioning and the benefits of air conditioning, then you need to vote yes. If you do no, then vote no. In a nutshell, the current code in the state of Georgia reads as such that new approved refrigerant by the EPA is technically not approved in the state of Georgia. So on any new construction, whether a home or commercial real estate, this product would not be available to be installed. So we want to make sure that that's okay. With that being said, we also wanted to protect the elderly, any one of us that has current HVAC equipment, so that we're not having to replace everything. We want to be able to use the existing equipment with mechanical contractors' existing refrigerant to make sure that we can maintain without having spending new capital cost. That is the essence of the bill. I yield for questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Maynor for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Will this bill help us in this body since it is freezing in here right now?
The current dilemma within the body is all the bodies aren't in here, so that means a lot of the hot air is still outside.
Chair recognizes Representative Wiedauer for a question.
Gentleman yield?
I do.
Would you say that during the committee hearing that it actually would have been faster for you just to have read every word of the bill to us?
That is correct.
Thank you. I appreciate the shortened presentation.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Evans for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Yes, so if we don't pass this bill, what are the repercussions for people who own existing air conditioning systems, and do they have to buy the new refrigerant, or would they have to buy new equipment that uses the new refrigerant? What are the repercussions if we don't pass this bill?
Well, there's two pieces to that. So one, as long as the current refrigerant's available, which it will be, there's a transition time frame that this will occur. So there's R22 or R410 currently that's used. So if the entire piece of equipment goes out, it will need to be replaced, and if that is not available by manufacturers, then you will, we'll call it dippity-doo. And that is when you wake up in the morning and you go and you look down and there's, well, never mind. It has to do with, never mind, forgive me. Go ahead.
Chair recognizes Representative Bentley for a question. To your left.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does the gentleman yield?
Where are we? Yes, I do.
Serious question. Is it not true that I'm in the process of purchasing a new cooler for my business?
Yes.
Okay.
If you say so.
Yes, that is true. So can you explain to me exactly how this bill is going to impact my plans to purchase a new cooler for my business?
So it's based on refrigerant. What refrigerant you have in the existing or the new cooler, there is a new requirement for refrigerant on future manufactured product. So as long as this does not go bad with the old refrigerant, then you'll be fine. But moving forward, if something were to go wrong, then you would need to replace the equipment with new HVAC or new refrigerant.
But if I go, is it not further true that if I purchase my new cooler now, that I'll be good with your bill? I mean, it won't be any issues?
You will be fine.
Okay.
Which is important in your industry.
Yes, it is very important for my industry. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the next question, but we'll also note there are 15 bills left on the calendar. Chair recognizes
Can I
Representative.
yield the well? I yield the well. Thank you.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 162, the nays were 2. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption, House Bill 51, House Bill 51.
House Bill 51 by Representative Perkle, 169th being entitled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 20, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education. This is to authorize local boards of education to use vehicles other than school buses for the transport of all students to and from school and school-related activities. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Perkle to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Last week, if you noticed, at the FFA Day at the Capitol, hope you got a chance to meet with your FFA students. I noticed that some of their school systems brought 2 students on a school bus. This bill, HB 51, provides school systems with flexibility in the transportation of students. The genesis of this bill started with a conversation I had with one of my small school systems that was complaining about the inefficiencies of transporting one or two students to a school-related activity. This bill strikes 4 lines, adds 6 words, provides flexibilities for our school systems. Every single school superintendent that I talked to absolutely love this bill, and I hope you do too.
There are no questions.
Thank you. Vote green, please.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? For what purpose does, if so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 164, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 402. House Bill 402.
House Bill 402 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 16 and Chapter 2, Title 20 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to health of elementary and secondary school students so as to require public schools and local school systems to provide water safety education information upon initial enrollment to parents and guardians of students under the age of 18 years of age. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Hilton to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, distinguished colleagues. Leader McDonald, I'll do my best to talk slow. The purpose of House Bill 402 is to provide water safety information for families and children across Georgia at the beginning of every school year. More children ages 1 to 4 die from drowning every year than any other cause of death. And for children ages 5 to 14, drowning is the second leading cause of death. As a father of 3 children, learning these statistics weighed heavily on my heart, as drowning can be preventable with the right education. This is what House Bill 402 seeks to accomplish. This bill will be named in honor of Edna Mae McGovern, a very special young girl who unfortunately lost her life to drowning 13 years ago. I want to thank my co-sponsors, the organization Every Child a Swimmer, and Edna Mae's mother, Casey McGovern, for her courage to share Edna Mae's story and efforts to educate and prevent heartbreaking losses that are all too common for our children. With that, Madam Speaker, I will yield for questions.
There are no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. For what purpose does Representative Evans rise?
Parliamentary inquiry?
State your inquiry.
Yes, thank you. Isn't it also true that the #1 cause of death for children 1 to 17 is gun violence? And that makes us very sad too, and we wish the body would address that.
As the lady so states. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 159, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 338. House Bill 338.
House Bill 338 by Representative Irwin of the 32nd to be entitled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated the Quality Basic Education Act, so as to provide for the inclusion of methods for the promotion of the safe and appropriate use of technology and responsible digital citizenship. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Irwin to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I bring before you House Bill 338, which is the Student Technology Protection Act. This act provides methods of promoting the safe and appropriate use of technology and responsible digital citizenship. So it is filtering of obscene material from state-owned devices. We passed this bill last year overwhelmingly out of this House and got it over to the Senate. What we are attempting to do here is to make sure that predators aren't able to get on the devices that we are handing our children, as well as inappropriate or not grade appropriate material is not able to be accessed through the devices that our children carry home with them. COVID really spiked this up, as you could imagine. We gave many more devices for children to carry home to use to learn from. There is a SIPA law out there, which is the federal act that has set standards for filtering what we're supposed to do to keep that inappropriate material off our devices. What we have done here is we have measured those. they have not been updated, the SIPA law, since 2011. So there's a need in the state of Georgia to make sure that we not only let a SIPA law from 2011 govern the protection of our children, but also the fact that Georgia needs to be protecting our children. So with that, Madam Speaker, I will yield for questions.
Chair recognizes Representative Anulowicz for a question to your left.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Is it not true that children will have access to these kinds of very disturbing materials whether or not they're on a school computer or device?
If they have their own device, the answer to that is correct. Their own device, but not a state-held device.
Does the gentleman further yield?
I do.
Is it not also true that because of that, because these devices are really kind of ubiquitous, regardless of whether or not your child has access to a device through school or through home, it's very important for parents to have these conversations with their children to prepare them for things they might see and to explain what these things are and why and that it's important for parents to understand why they need to have these conversations earlier than they probably think they need to?
I will agree that parents definitely need to be having conversations with their children on what's right and what's wrong.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chair recognizes Representative Barnes for a question.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you. Will this bill also block them from being able to access these sites from different devices? Like, will it block the Wi-Fi? So if they use their personal device in the school, will the Wi-Fi be able to block them from accessing these sites?
Let me see if I understand the question. There are filters there are servers that have filters on them at the state facilities currently today, and they will block inappropriate or not grade appropriate at school. But also the devices that they carry home, such as hotspots, they need those same filters on those hotspots.
May I further, what do I say? Yield? Does the gentleman further yield?
I do.
Thank you. So when they're at home and they have the school-issued device, they will not be allowed to access these sites at home as well. Is that correct?
If it's a hotspot, it is filtered, and they would not be able to. That does not stop them to be on their own internet, their own personally paid devices. It would only be the state-owned devices if they are trying to access through it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Representative Awe for a question.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Well, if I can find you.
I'm here. I'm here.
There we go.
To your right.
Yes, Representative.
I'm short. This is a question regarding the definition of obscene materials, if you refer to your copy of the bill, lines 89 through 91. How that reads is that obscene materials is defined as, quote, predominantly appeals to the prurient interest that is a shameful or morbid interest in nudity, sex, or excretion. So I'm asking this looking through the lens of someone who's watching some fairly alarming bills that are passing through the Senate side that look to legislate the upbringing and education of our LGBTQ youth. So I'm aware that some of the folks bringing some of the anti-LGBTQ bills might in fact look at some of the literature or medical information or social support for these students as, quote, shameful or as, quote, morbid interest in nudity, that type of thing. So can you give me any assurances that this bill excludes that type of literature or information or online social support for these students? Or would such materials be in fact deemed obscene under this bill?
Representative, these definitions and the definition of obscenity came straight out of the code section in the law books, and that's what is put in here in this bill.
So can you give me any assurance that this does not preclude children who might have only one device as issued through the school from accessing accurate medical information or social support through these devices?
This does not preclude that. We talk about this. It's grade appropriate. So it would be different for a 11th grader or an 8th grader versus a 1st grader to access material through here. So we try to, in everything we do in schools, we try to make it grade appropriate. The same thing can be said for surgeries. And some videos on surgeries, whether that's grade appropriate or not, and a senior would be allowed to access that information if it was appropriate, say for a med student that wants to be pre-med in college versus a second grader. So this would attempt to be grade appropriate material. If it's grade appropriate for a senior, then it would not filter that out.
Certainly. I think there's just some subjectivity in that. Thank you for answering my questions.
There are no more questions.
We would ask your favorable consideration for this bill to get it moving again this year, and also we will then yield the will, Madam.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 163, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 185, House Bill 185.
House Bill 185 by Representative Gaines in the 120th to be entitled an Act to amend Part 7 of Article 7 of Chapter 3, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Hope scholarships and grants, so as to provide for Hope inclusive post-secondary education grants. This bill having referred to the Committee on Higher Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Gaines to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know we are late in the afternoon, so I'll try to be brief, but this bill is one I'm really excited about that creates grant opportunities for students who enroll in what are called inclusive post-secondary education programs, which are programs at universities and colleges throughout Georgia that allow students with intellectual disabilities the opportunity to attend college. When I was at UGA, I actually had the opportunity to help start the program at UGA Destination Dogs. It's a program that started at Clemson Life, and there's these programs all across the state. They're Albany Tech, Columbus State, throughout Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia Southern. There's several great programs throughout the state. We have about 150 of these students statewide. Again, students with intellectual disabilities, great opportunity. So this would create a grant opportunity to help these students to pay their tuition costs because currently they're not eligible for HOPE. This is not within the HOPE scholarship, but will be a separate grant that we would be subject to appropriations of the General Assembly. And Madam Speaker, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Chair recognizes Representative Hilton for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does the gentleman yield?
I will.
Is it not true that I'm the proud father of a 13-year-old son named Chase with Down syndrome?
You are.
Does gentleman further
will.
yield? Is it not true that this bill gives hope to many folks like Chase with special abilities and thousands of other Georgians across our state who will stay in our state, learn, get educated, and live to happy and productive lives in our state?
It will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this excellent bill.
Thank you for your support of the legislation, your work on it as well.
Chair recognizes Representative Glaze for a question.
Thank you. Does the gentleman?
I will.
Does this bill not open the door for many of our students who have the ability to be contributors to this state to go to college and get assistance that they need to make that happen for them?
Yeah, these programs are very successful in moving students from education to employment and shown tremendous success. I believe at Georgia Tech, their program has almost a 90% employment rate for the students who go through these programs.
One more question.
Sure.
Do you yield? Is it not true that we have a young man that is around this wonderful place named Charlie that has been very helpful
Amen.
in getting this bill to us, and
Amen.
his work has been one that we could highlight?
Charlie Miller's inspiration, done a great job helping get this bill over the finish line.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Speaker, I will yield the well if there are no further questions.
You have one last question. Chair
I'll yield for one.
recognizes Chairman Dempsey for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I will, to my
Thank you
seatmate.
so much. Thank you for this bill, first of all, and for the measure and the heart that you put into helping start Destination Dogs. Is it not true that this will change lives, as you've heard from two members here, and that this House has worked very hard through the appropriations process as well
It
to
has.
help?
And
to
thank you
help.
for your leadership to help on that front, Madam Chair.
Well, is it not true also that most people may not understand that many of these students will be graduating with regular degrees from our high school programs?
That's right.
Are strong, are educated, but need just that little bit of help to live away at college and experience this.
That's right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Madam Chair, and thank you for your support. And Madam Speaker, I will yield the well and ask for the body's favorable consideration, House Bill 185.
Gentleman has yielded the well. For what purpose? No questions there. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 165, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 43. House Bill 43.
House Bill 43 by Representative Lim of the 98th, being entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 12 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to protection of American Indian human remains and burial objects so as to revise the membership of the Council on American Indian Concerns.
Chair recognizes Representative Lim to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to present House Bill 43, which regards our indigenous Americans in Georgia. You may recall, some of you, that we passed this bill unanimously out of the House last year and just ran out of time in the Senate. We have 3 state-recognized tribes here in Georgia: the Cherokee of Georgia in the southeast, the Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe in the southwest, and the Georgia Tribe of Eastern Cherokee in North Georgia. And this bill does 2 things. One, it ensures that these state-recognized tribes will always have representation on our state's Council on American Indian Concerns, which is under our Department of Natural Resources, DNR. And number 2, it updates the addresses for each of these tribes, which is often critical to their being properly found, as the committee quite found out. So these 3 tribes and the Council requested this bill, which is also supported by DNR, and I am grateful to have continued to work with them. With that, Madam Speaker, I am happy to yield for questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 164, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 298. House Bill 298.
House Bill 298 by Representative Daniel of the 117th, being entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 12 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding juries so as to provide for an exemption or a deferment from jury service for natural or adoptive mothers of children 6 months of age and younger. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Daniel to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, I bring to you guys House Bill 298. This will provide an additional jury duty exemption for natural and adoptive parents for children who are 6 months of age and younger. The difference this bill codifies is that it does not require a parent to seek child care for their newborn. I ask for your favorable consideration and yield the will if there are any questions.
There are no questions. The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 163, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 436. House Bill 436.
House Bill 436 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, being entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 2 of Chapter 4, Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to surface mining, so as to revise maximum criminal penalties for violations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Corbett to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members of the House, I'll bring before you House Bill 436, LC 510312, and it is a pretty simple bill. I met with EPD to look at their fine structure when it comes to anything from water quality, air quality, any violations with that. And we got to the section on surface mining. That section, the fines had not been adjusted in many years when it comes to somebody, if they willfully misrepresent any fact in any matter or part, or willfully gives false information in any application or report required by the EPD, the maximum fine that they could charge was $1,000. So what we're doing in this bill is just raising that up to $10,000 per day, and each day counts as a separate occurrence. So it can compound daily, basically. So anyway, that's all we're doing in the bill, just raising the maximum amount that they are allowed to charge for someone that willfully violates, say, this section. So that's all the bill does, and I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
There are no questions.
I yield the well. Thank you.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 164, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
Well, good afternoon. I had a really good nap, if you're wondering where I've been. As is my custom, I usually get one in the afternoon, so, and y'all been messing with that lately, so. Mr. Clerk, will you please read the caption to HB 460?
House Bill 460 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd to be entitled an act to Chapter 11 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Juvenile Code so as to provide for a child's right to legal representation in legitimation cases. This bill having referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair Lady Ballinger is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I present House Bill 460. It clarifies when a child is eligible for a court-appointed attorney in juvenile court. It just specifies that a child has an attorney in a legitimation proceeding, a temporary guardianship, is receiving extended care services from DFACS, and a child in DFACS custody under exceptional circumstances. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
There are no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 165, the nays 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 508? 508.
House Bill 508 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 16594 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to restraining orders and protective orders so as to provide that orders be served on a respondent within 24 hours of the court's issuance of such order. This bill having referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair Lady Ballinger is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring before you House Bill 508. Whenever a temporary protective order is filed, it specifies that the order should be served within 24 hours. That's all this bill does. There's no repercussions for our law enforcement if the temporary protective order is not served, but it just produces that shot clock to indicate that time is of the essence in serving these petitions. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Hearing no questions, I yield the well.
I'm sorry, would the lady yield for a question? I was a little
Sure.
slow on the draw.
I'll be more than happy to yield for a question.
For what purpose? Representative Maynard is recognized for a question. That's what we want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlewoman yield?
Yes, I do.
Is it not true that with this new bill that hopefully will get passed, once these TPOs are filed and they are not, the proposed defendants are not served within this 24 hours, even though it's within the essence to do it, is it not further true that this will hopefully help law enforcement really serve these people so they will not have a lot of paperwork? Because you have to send people stuff to say they weren't served.
Yes.
Is that not true?
Yes. That is the hope.
Lady has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
The lady has yielded the well. Members, some of you were here when my friend up here was here with us as a member. So would you all welcome former Representative Regina Quick back to the House. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 167, the nays 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, if you'll read the caption to HB 509.
House Bill 509 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 1671 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to burglary, so as to include an act of family violence as an element of such offense. This bill then referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair Lady Ballinger is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last one, I promise. House Bill 509 adds an act of family violence to the burglary statute. Right now, the burglary statute is narrowly curtailed to theft or a felony, and it adds an act of family violence. It only appeals, after number 3, you're a bit tired. It only includes offenses between current and former spouses, intimate and former romantic partners, or family members. So we're really trying to get at the heart of the intimate partner violence. That's the bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have a question.
Thank you. I'm happy to yield.
To your left, Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
Yes, I do.
All right, so I thought I understood this bill, but maybe I misunderstood. So does this mean that an act of family violence?
The lady will suspend with her question just for a moment. There's 3 of us need to hear what she's saying, and I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I can't hear it. The lady is recognized to proceed with the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield again?
Yes, I will.
So does this say that an act of family violence is burglary? Is that how I'm reading it, or?
It will be covered under the burglary statute. Right now, if somebody kicks in your door and steals your toaster and walks out, they're guilty of burglary. Right now, if an intimate partner kicks in the door, beats the crap out of their former intimate partner, they're guilty of 2 crimes. They're guilty of battery and they're guilty of criminal trespass, 2 misdemeanors. This would elevate that offense to the level of a felony, punishable by 1 to 20. I think intimate partners are worth more than toasters.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to yield for any other questions.
You do have another question if you'll yield.
I'm happy to yield.
Representative Williams is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentlelady yield?
To my friend I. Williams, of course.
I've enjoyed your colorful descriptions. This morning it was beating the snot out. This evening it's the crap. If you have another bill, it's really going to be interesting.
This is my last one today. Mr. Speaker, if there are no further questions.
No, there is one. I'm sorry. I tripped on the way back.
It's all good. It's all good.
Representative Miller is recognized for a question. She's
Thank
to the
you,
left.
Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
Yes, I do.
I am assuming that for purposes of this bill, the individual who is entering the home does not have authority to be there.
Yes.
In other words, it is not their home.
It is without authority.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
The lady has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? The chair hears none. The committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 163, the nays 4. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, if you'll read the caption to HB 406. 406.
House Bill 406 by Representative Jaspers to the 11th, to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 46 and Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to jurisdiction of and powers and duties of the Georgia Public Service Commission generally and selling and other trade practices. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Technology and Infrastructure Innovation. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The representative from Jasper, Georgia. Aren't you from Jasper? Yes, sir. Chairman, Rick Jaspers will present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 406 is the work of the Joint Commission on the Electrification of Transportation. I was very honored to have the opportunity to work on this game-changing issue in the state. You know, Senator Gooch and I co-chaired a joint study committee this year, had some great committee members, Chairman Powell, Chairman Parsons, Chairman Corbett. We added a couple of people, Representative Brad Thomas and Representative Spencer Fry, to help us. We created a 700-page document that I'll be glad to send you because the issue is giant and wide-ranging. You know, I have to recognize Catherine Russell, who was in the Senate Research Office at the time, now works for the Department of Ag, for really putting that together, and from House Budget and Research, Abby Day. You know, due to the Biden administration's focus on electric vehicles, manufacturers have invested in electric vehicles in a great way. You look at our state, you look at the announcements by the governor as they relate to electric vehicles, you know we're the leader. And the federal funding of the NEVI plan, which is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan, will put chargers across this state in a great way. Georgia itself will receive $125 million over the next 5 years, $25 million this year, and for Plan Year 1, which has been approved by US DOT and is certainly underway right now. So knowing that all this was at our doorstep, that's why we had this meeting to act. You know, so our goal is to ensure that Georgia roads and bridges were adequately funded, and that meant the collection of excise tax on the sale of electricity for fuel, just like gasoline is right now. This is cutting edge. You know, as we worked on this, you know, we are the leaders, as we generally are on transportation issues in America. This bill does three things. It allows for the retail sale of electricity by others than Georgia Power or their EMCs. It creates a regulatory framework for electric vehicle chargers for safety, accuracy, and the location of them to make sure that we get our excise tax dollars. That's my number one goal. And then we also create the excise tax on electricity. At 16 pages, you have to thank Jenna Doley in Legislative Council. And there's also Madison in my office who's dealt with an incessant number of people in my office to work on this bill, because this touches just about everybody across the state. You look at Part 1, page 2, probably the most important part of the bill, because this language allows the owners of electric vehicle charging equipment to sell electricity by the kilowatt hour for the sole purpose of charging an electric vehicle. This language represents a very carefully crafted compromise between all parties that were negotiated last year on Chairman Powell's bill. And it also reflects the findings of the Commission on the electrification of transportation. I certainly want to thank Chairman Powell and Chairman Parsons for working on this agreement. Part 2, page 3, all the way through lines 222, is original gasoline code. So what we did is we took how we regulate fuels today, how it's sold, stored, everything, and carefully worded it, Legislative Council, to make it fit the use of electricity. On section 3, page 10, is the tax regulations part of it. We worked very carefully with the Department of Revenue on this section to make sure we accurately captured energy use in transportation in electricity, compressed air, liquefied natural gas, and even the future-looking hydrogen. And section 4 are the effective dates. And if you'll look, they're out there ways, because we've got to give an opportunity for the Department of Ag to scale up, for revenue to scale up, and for the charging station providers to make sure that they can do what we're going to ask them to do. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the opportunity to work on this bill, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Well, I got a second. You got something on your desk from the Georgia Chamber, but I just want to put a shout out to the Georgia Transportation Alliance. If you haven't worked with, you will in the future work with Seth Milliken and his group. They are great advocates for transportation all across our state, and I think you will appreciate getting to know them and the work that they do.
Gentlemen, yield.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Representative Jasmine Clark to your left has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
First, thank you for this bill. I just am curious because I know sometimes when I go to Target or when I go to certain places, there are already electric vehicle charging stations. How are they currently operating? How are they charging people, or are they free? How does this work?
There are both, ma'am. Some are free. The business is providing them free. Some are you buy it by time, 20, 30, 40-minute increments. This changes it. We want them all to be sold as power and taxed as power.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Chairman Meeks, over to your right, has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that electric semis will weigh approximately 15,000 more pounds than what current semis weigh today?
Absolutely.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, sir.
Does that not mean, or is it not true that the drivers and the companies will either have to reduce their payload by 15,000 or weight limits will have to be addressed?
Hey. The gentleman is absolutely correct, and that's why, Chairman Meeks, we added hydrogen, because hydrogen will probably be the fuel of choice for heavy equipment and tractor moving.
Representative Tran is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the chairman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it true that this does not apply, there will not be a tax on vehicles charged at home?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. Currently, a vehicle that's charged at home pays a fee. It's $210 and a few cents per year. So we're not touching that. They'll be able to still charge at home and take advantage of opportunities that some EMCs in Georgia Power may provide for charging in the midnight.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
The gentleman yield for 2 more questions.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Representative Fry is recognized for a question.
Mr. Chairman, yield.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isn't it true that I'm honored to have served with you on that committee on such an important measure to advance this state into what I consider energy independence, which also equals economic independence from foreign bodies who might manipulate our fuel prices?
Absolutely, you're correct, and I appreciate your input all the way through this.
One more.
Yes, sir.
Representative Donahue of the 31st is recognized for a question.
Does a gentleman, my friend, yield?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Let me ask you the question here. When you go to Kroger and they're not charging you, the ones that are going to charge you like a meter base, do you know what the charge roughly is, or do they set their own charge?
Oh, they set their own charge, Representative. You know, it's a free market. You know, some are going to charge whatever they choose to.
Thank you.
You bet. If that's the last of the questions.
Yes,
More?
that's your last question, but if you'll stay there just for a moment.
Yes, sir.
Let me make 2 points, maybe 3. Just for planning purposes, as I know y'all are sending text messages out, we're going to finish this bill, and we're not going to take up any more bills today. We'll complete our business. But let me tell y'all something. I think most of y'all know this. Chairman Jaspers has spent untold hours working on these issues. And there's some other folks that are going to speak here in just a moment, but Chairman Jaspers, I can tell you we're indebted to you. I don't know if your bill's going to pass or not, but we're indebted to you for the work you've done here. So we appreciate you, and thank you for your presentation. And Mr. Chairman, appropriately today is proclaimed by the governor as Rivian Day in Georgia.
Wait. Well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The gentleman yields well. Chairman Parsons is recognized to speak to the bill. Chairman Parsons has also been very involved and spent many untold hours as well. Thank you, Chairman Parsons.
Thank you, Speaker Burns. I'm just going to be very brief. I know we're up against the clock anyway, but I did just a couple of things. First of all, I want to ask everyone to vote for this bill. It's a good bill. And I want to thank Chairman Jaspers for his hard work on the bill and also his hard work as a co-chairman of that committee or commission we had over the interim. A lot of time spent in that and a lot of hard work, and I appreciate it. It's a complex issue, and we've done a really good job coming to some answers. There's a lot other things that have to be answered, but I think at where it's at right now, we have some good policy here to look at and consider and vote affirmatively on. I just feel like I would be remiss, actually, if I didn't mention the committee that I chair, the EUT, Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications Committee. And they worked hard on this issue last year. We had Chairman Powell's bill last year that I think actually the one section of this bill came primarily from that bill that we had last year as far as selling the retail sale of electricity by the kilowatt hour. And there were some other issues in that too that I think are going to be looked at, and hopefully there's some communication, some conversation about that right now. I'd also like to mention Chairman Chokas. I don't know if he's back there or not. Chairman Chokas had a bill on, there he is. He had a bill on the same issue last year, and he put in a lot of work on it. And he had a bill also on the same issue as far as the retail sale of electricity by the kilowatt hour. He put in work on that and basically came up with the same language. So I want to thank him for that. And with that, I would just say that our committee did some hard work on that, listened to a lot, hours and hours and hours of testimony on this last year. And as I mentioned before, I have a background. My background's in telecommunications and signal, and I spent about 20 years in the reserves as an NCO non-commissioned officer. As a non-commissioned officer, one thing you do is you have to take care of the people that you work with. That's just part of being an NCO, and that's one reason I wanted to definitely mention the folks on that committee last year, because they did a really good job, put in a lot of work. And the last thing is, this is a good bill, and I thank Chairman Jaspers for it, and I ask you to vote for it. Thank you. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well, and thank you for your work on this issue, Chairman Parsons. You spent many hours as well. Chairman Alan Powell, who also was involved in spending a lot of hours and making sure this bill did exactly what we needed to. Chairman Powell, recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not a whole lot that I can add to what Chairman Jaspers has said. Let me tell you something. I would commit this bill to you. You know, this is groundbreaking. Last year I got involved, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say thanks to a lot of folks. Chairman Parsons and his committee, his Vice Chairman, Representative Gullett, and so many of his members. You know, we got into the mix on this last year, that we knew that this was coming, and as y'all all know, the powers that be in the federal government and the public policies of this country are changing. And I realized at that point we had such an intricate part that there's going to be at stake. We had the MCs, we had Georgia Power, and we all understand business in this state. We understand it's about winners and losers, and all of these different entities, they were salivating at the lips who was going to try to get a monopoly as best they could or get over on the other one. And so it's picking winners and losers. Thanks to Chairman Parson and his committee members, it was bipartisan about some of the things that we talked about, was to prohibit monopolies, to do things like the sale of power by the KW, because you're fixing to see a change of this country. As this idea about electric vehicles moves forward, you know, I'd said last year I had some concerns. Being an old convenience store guy in an earlier life, I see things that are going to change with this EV. But EV is not going to be the final solution. It's only going to be part of the solution to our energy problems in the future. I personally think that it's going to be minor. I think right now that everything that we've seen is with all the federal grants and all the money and all the people who want to get into the charging business, and I suspect at some point you're going to be riding down the highway the way I have in my past, and you're going to see these popsicle sticks spread across the horizon of this great state and country, and it's going to be EV chargers that are obsolete, because I have full faith in the research and development of a lot of the companies, whether it's hydrogen or compress this or compress that or propane, and you know, you're going to see other forms of energy that are going to be powering this nation. But you can rest assured on one thing, that it's going to change the makeup. A lot of those stores that rely on gasoline products today, a lot of them are going to have to retool. They're going to have to figure out other sources of revenue. They're going to have to figure out food service. They're going to figure out shopping or whatever. Because the American public, is not in our nature to go and sit on our fannies for 30 minutes while you get a charge to get on down the road another 150 miles. That's just not the nature of this country. I just don't believe it will be in the future. But that being said, I want to commend, and we've all given him a round of applause, and I think that's very fitting, because he put in a yeoman's job on this committee this year. We traveled around bits and parts of the state, and we did all this stuff, but the openness of the mind, and he kept focused on the bottom line to this. And the bottom line was, how do we change the formula from motor fuel tax to kilowatt hours? I'm not sure it's all going to work, but I know it's a step forward, and it's pretty revolutionary in where we're going, and I think he needs to be given all full credit for that. And to all the members of the committee that weighed in on this. So, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I would certainly commend you to vote for this bill. If nothing else, that board should probably be the greenest board that I've seen since this morning. I laughed to myself. I told Donna, the doorkeeper, I looked up at the board this morning, and I saw the greenest board I'd ever seen this time. I mean, hardly nobody was missing on whatever that issue was. But that's what this bill is. This is a bill and a step in the right direction. It's a bill to get us prepared for the future, and I would certainly recommend you vote for this bill. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Representative Brad Thomas is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll make sure to keep this short. I was proud to serve on the Joint Committee for Electrification and Transportation. I actually didn't make the first cut of the committee. My fine chairman over here actually helped me get onto the committee, and I'm very grateful for that. And I rise in support of HB 406. This bill, it codifies sound and practical policy for fuels of tomorrow, specifically electricity, hydrogen, and some other alternative fuels. You know, it's our responsibility to provide an economy that allows for all fuel sources to be made available and let the consumer decide what's best for them. I actually drive a four-wheel drive truck every day. I got a 68 Camaro I take out on the weekends when it's sunny. And I'm not what the EV industry would identify as like a likely customer, but my job isn't here to protect my fuel source. My job here is to allow for the free market system to operate and allow for people to have the choice of fuel, and this bill does that. One thing people don't realize is electric cars can be powered not only by the power stored in their battery, but through hydrogen via hydrogen fuel cell technology. This bill addresses fuel diversity and lays groundwork for future alternative fuels. I believe our roads are for the use of everyone, but I also believe that everyone should pay their fair share. This bill addresses that. Finally, I believe that the consumer should be protected from bad actors who may not be providing the charging power that they're saying that they're actually charging. This bill addresses that. So I want to once again commend Chairman Jaspers. Like I said, the one thing you'll note, it says joint committee. That means he had to work with senators. I feel like he deserves another whole applause for that. But otherwise, I ask for your favorable consideration, and I yield well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Silcox rise?
Rise to make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to motion that House Bill 571 be removed from the Human Relations and Aging Committee and moved over.
The lady will suspend. I thought you had another motion. I'll recognize you for that motion in just a minute.
Pardon me.
Thank you. Have all members now voted? I think they have. So the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 161, the nays 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Congratulations. Yesterday, we postponed House Bill 212 until today. We're going to postpone House Bill 212 again until tomorrow, the next legislative day. We will also, House Bill 273 will be postponed to the next legislative day. House Bill 244 will be postponed to the next legislative day. House Bill 295 will be postponed to the next legislative day. And House Bill 362 will be postponed to the next legislative day. We'll move on now to afternoon orders. Chairman Bonner is recognized for an afternoon order.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this afternoon just to recognize a great Georgian and a great American. Yesterday at Dobbins, we said goodbye to Major General Tom Grabowski and said congratulations to Major General Kanata Crumley, who is our new Major General of the Air National Guard. He's been a member of the Guard since 2004, and among his many accomplishments and accolades, probably the best thing I can say about him is that he is a proud constituent of House District 73. So let's congratulate, it goes by the call sign of Deuce. Let's congratulate our new commander of the Air National Guard.
Congratulations, General. Chair Lady Cooper is recognized for an afternoon order. I think Chair Lady Cooper. Chair Lady Sharon Cooper is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today was Alzheimer's Awareness Day. I think you've been seeing them in the hall and hopefully have talked to some of them. As I've said to you, Alzheimer's and diabetes are going to break this country if we don't find something to help with both those issues, and it's very important that we be aware of this. It's going to affects about 1 in 3 American seniors. So thank you very much, and I appreciate the ladies and gentlemen that came to talk to us.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Representative Buckner is recognized for an afternoon order. Representative Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, March is Women's History Month, and in conjunction with that, I wanted to highlight a particular woman from Georgia and tell you about something special that is in the works. Mary Musgrove, who is from the Savannah area, was a daughter of an English trader and a Native American woman, and she understood many cultures and many different languages. And she became the negotiator between English and Native American communities and was known as being the interpreter for James Oglethorpe. She did this throughout her life and helped negotiate many of the treaties that made us become the state of Georgia. And so what is happening
Lady will suspend.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you. What is happening is in 2026, the United States of America will be 250 years old. And in relation to that situation or that party or that celebration, there are people who would like to have a statue of a Native American person on the grounds of the Capitol, and Mary Musgrove is under consideration. So hopefully that will happen, and if you can help with that, they would welcome your help. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you for that announcement. We have one last afternoon order. I want y'all to pay attention to this one. This was really groundbreaking. This is important not only to Georgia, but it's important to mankind. Chair Lady Houston is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you. I had some exciting news today, and I was going to ask them to come after they told me, but they got away from the Capitol. But when I told Mr. Speaker about the news, he said, well, why don't you just share it with everybody? Well, today I had a visit from Dr. Lisa Nolan and a group from the Georgia Veterinarian School. And we had a nice talk, and they got ready to leave, and they gave me a little jar of honey. And she told me that the honey was made at the University of Georgia Veterinarian School, and that a person at the veterinarian school has discovered a vaccine for honeybees. And you know, all over the world we're having trouble with honeybees dying. And the vaccine was discovered and made at the University of Georgia Veterinarian School. And she went on to tell me, and I did not know this, and that a company from California has moved to Athens to produce the vaccine. And I am just so proud of them and for what they've done. And as a little footnote, Tara Burkhalter is my budget analyst, and she came in to talk about the budget. And so I told her about the discovery that they'd made at the University of Georgia. And Tara said, well, did they come and ask for money? And Dr. Nolan said, no, we didn't need any money. We just did that. And so they are going to be on Good Morning America, and they've had an article about them in the New York Times, but didn't feature too much about the veterinarian school, but the veterinarian school is what did it. And then they've got a call today from a TV station out in France, you know, Parlez-vous français, France. and so it's just big news, and this is just world-changing, and I am so proud of the vet school, and I hope we can have them here one day, this session, and I just wanted to share it with y'all before you saw it on TV. So,
Chair Lady, I have a question.
Thank you.
Chair Lady, I have a question. I hope that this doesn't also work on Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
We need them to...
I think this is to make the bees live, Mr. Speaker. There's some kind of, my son-in-law raises honeybees, so I know I've heard a lot about them dying in droves, and we depend on bees so much in the farming thing. And I forgot to say that Farm Bureau went to the veterinarian school and wanted to know about if they could do something to help. So a shout out for Farm Bureau for asking it.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That's huge. That's huge. Now we'll recognize Representative Silcox. For what purpose does Representative Silcox rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I make a motion that we move House Bill 571 from the Human Relations and Aging Committee to the Public Health Committee, and both chairmen are in agreement.
Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 571 by Representative Silcox, the 53rd, and others to be titled an act to amend Article 8 of Chapter 6 and Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Alzheimer's and related dementia state plan.
On the lady's motion that HB 571 be withdrawn from the Human Relations and Aging Committee and be recommitted to the Public Health and Community Health Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. For what purpose does Representative Camp rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
Wish to have HB 615 transferred from judiciary non-civil to intergovernmental coordination.
Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 615 by Representative Smith of the 70th and others to be entitled an act to amend the act continuing the State Court of Coweta County approved May 17, 2004.
On the lady's motion that HB 615 be withdrawn from the Judiciary Committee and recommitted to the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. For what purpose does Representative Donahue rise?
Mr. Speaker, I would like to just tell the chair lady here, thank you, I'm a beekeeper. And with that, I tattoo every one of my bees. Does that mean I have to recapture each one and give them the vaccine?
With a very tiny needle. Yes, sir. That's what that means. I think we've collected all the honey we can on that one today. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring life and memory of Dr. Norman H. Thomas, Sr. Honoring the life and memory of Lloyd T. Lewis. Honoring the life and contributions of Dr. Jan Joseph. Honoring the life and contributions of Mayor David Still. Honoring the life and contributions of Mayor Trey King. Recognizing the leadership Gwinnett class of 2022 for their impact and their leadership. Congratulating and commending Joanne Cumming for receiving the 2023 Yellow Rose Nikki T. Randall Service Leader Award. Commending the City of College Park and recognizing February 15, 2023 as College Park Day at the state capitol. Recognizing and commending the Coalition for Global Hepatitis Elimination. Recognizing and commending Lieutenant Carlos F. Ortiz upon his retirement. Recognizing the Georgia Speech Language Hearing Association. Recognizing and commending Reverend Dr. Albert Paul Brinson. Commending the Big Haynes Creek Nature Center located at the Georgia International Horse Park. Recognizing and commending Nettie Jackson. Recognizing and commending the Elbert Franklin Hart Madison County Unit on being named the Georgia Forestry Commission 2022 North Georgia Unit of the Year. Commending and congratulating the Conyers Cherry Blossom Festival for its outstanding efforts. Recognizing the week of March 11th, 13th through 19th, 2023 is Brain Awareness Week in Georgia. Recognizing the Georgia Academy of Audiology. Celebrating Spectrum Autism Support Group's 25th anniversary and recognizing its provision of support and education. Commending the Emergency Medical Services Professionals of Georgia and recognizing March 2nd, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Recognition Day at the state capitol. Honoring the athletic achievements of Beaufort High School. Honoring the inaugural year of Seekinger High School and its innovative artificial intelligence education. Honoring the academic and athletic success of Mountain View High School. Honoring the academics and athletic success at Decula High School. And honoring the contribution and leadership of Gwinnett Chief of Police J.D. McClure. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. One more. For what purpose does Representative Chuck Martin rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Really?
Yes, sir.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, your goal is to run an efficient House, and in following that, isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that rather than make an announcement, I would just say, isn't it true, higher ed is going to meet immediately on adjournment?
I guess you could subvert the system and do that, but I won't recognize you next time. You're off the list. If you didn't know it, Betsy just took you off the list. If the gentleman so speaks, I'm sure he knows that that's happening right now. Let's see. We're on to announcements. Chairman Meeks is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee will meet in the morning, 8 a.m., CLOB 406. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized for an announcement. Here she is.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The public hearing on housing will be postponed to a later date.
Chairman Werkheiser is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Industry and Labor Committee is going to meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, CLOB 515. Thank you.
Chairman Hawkins recognized for an announcement.
The Committee on Health will meet upon adjournment in room CAP 403.
Chairman Noel Williams is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Banks and Banking will meet immediately upon adjournment in 406 CLOB. 406 CLOB.
Chairman Alan Powell is recognized for an announcement.
to the members of regulated industries, we have canceled this afternoon's meeting, and it'll be rescheduled for tomorrow. And if you just keep tabs on your email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman John LaHood is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governmental Affairs Committee members, we're going to meet immediately after Higher Ed vacates room 606 in the CLOB. Governmental Affairs, 606 CLOB, immediately after Higher Ed.
Chairman Tyler Paul Smith is recognized for an announcement.
Mr. Speaker, we get 40 days in session, so members of the Home Subcommittee of Judiciary Non-Civil will meet upon adjournment, and then full committee will follow after. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman Collins is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee will be meeting momentarily in CLOB 506. We got a few pieces of legislation. Come early. Let's get them knocked out so we can go home. Thank you.
The Majority Leader of this House is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand in recess until 5 p.m. and thereafter be adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, March 2nd, 2023.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stand in recess until 5 p.m. today and then stand adjourned